Setting out a children's book for print and EPUB using Canva Affinity Publisher version 3, including storyboarding with Canva. So let's start. The first thing we need to do is create a storyboard from our idea. Now here's a 12-panel storyboard for a warm, gentle children's story about a little lost kangaroo. Each panel includes scene description, visual notes, and narration text you can use in a picture book or animation. Now we can use Canva to set this out in a nice set of panels that will make it easy to visualize before we start to create the book in Affinity Layout. This example storyboard is from the free account on Canva. You can use it as a guide for your own creation. If you want to get more complex, you probably should subscribe to Canva because there are lots of details on there that are very useful. But what we have here is page 1, 2, 3 and 4, and there's 3 pages, so there's 12 groups there actually. You can see how they're arranged. When you have the storyboard clearly defined, download it as JPG files, all 4 pages. That's 12 panels altogether and an end page. You might like to remove all images before you do that, or create your own images. You may prefer to work without images. I personally prefer a written storyboard that I can directly translate into an Affinity Layout document, as follows, and with this guide, the creation of the book flows more efficiently. That's just a personal choice. And this is my 12-panel storyboard, and you can see I've got it arranged in 1, 2, 3 and 4 on this page. Opening scene in number 1, sunny outback. Number 2, Kip notices a butterfly. That's a small kangaroo called Kip. Number 3, and you can see how they follow each other. Kip follows the butterfly too far. 4, Kip realizes he's lost. Kip meets a friendly koala. In the next panel, the koala called Coco tries to help. Then Kip meets an emu in number 7, and number 8, the emu leads Kip to a clue. Number 9, a dust storm begins. You can see I've got there the visual, the action, and the narration. Then number 10, Kip's mum calls out. Reunion and closing scene. Now let's design the Affinity Layout, the ePub project summary. This is a document size, is A4. You could use US letter, but I've got A4 here. It's the same type of thing. Page, 14 pages, 12 pages plus cover plus back cover. You can always put in those extra 2. You've got 12 panels plus a cover plus a back cover. There's no bleed, 0mm bleed. Remember, we're not printing this book, it's an EPUB, so you don't need to worry about bleed. Now, because we're doing single pages, we're not doing the spread facing pages, we're doing single pages, although I will show you the other one. The margins have 12mm inside, outside, top and bottom. The colour profile is RGB because it's EPUB, it's digital. The primary fonts I've used are Rounded Friendly Sans, E, Nanito, Poppins Alternative for title and headings, Georgia or Merriweather for body text. Replace these fonts as needed. You may have fonts you're more familiar with. Fonts are widely available on the internet. Now to set this up, the ePub fixed format applied horizontal facing pages. Now if you want your pages to be horizontal and facing pages, you might have a wide spread in landscape mode. Personally, I prefer single pages, but you can see if you look carefully down the right-hand side, all the settings are applied and the multi-page is set to 14 pages, facing pages on and arranged horizontally. This will create an EPUB that is best viewed horizontally or in landscape mode. For single page mode, set facing pages off and arrange vertically. Now you can see in the multi-page section there, we've got facing pages on and they're arranged horizontally. But you might prefer to do that facing pages off and arranged vertically. Okay, we're still on horizontal layout. Cover 1, page 1, single page, full bleed. Cover artwork placed as background, scaled to the bleed, but there's no bleed, so you're scaling out right to the edges. You can put bleed on there if you want, but it'll be just ignored. And you can see how it's laid out there. Now we go to page 2 and 3, the spread 1, pages 2 and 3, the opening scenes. Background art, right full page illustration of Kip near the adult kangaroos. Text framing, the top left text box, keep contrast on lighter sky area. You can see where I've got the text on the clouds in the left hand page. Spread 2, pages 4 and 5. The butterfly sequence. Full bleed illustration of Kip watching the butterfly. The right side, text box with 2 small spot illustrations, circular frames showing Kip following the butterflies. And as he's following the butterflies, he's getting lost. Text block on the top left, artwork on the lower right. And the right hand side, big illustration of Kip looking worried in the tall grass. Whoops, he realises something's not quite right. Coco the koala scene with text underneath. On the right hand side, Ellie the emu pointing at footprints. Text to the side. You can see how the story is developing across these pages. The storm scene with swirling dust textures. An emotional moment. Kip leaps into his mother's arms. Big reunion. Now, to export this as a pub, to export to EPUB, select File, Export, and select EPUB Small Size. Now, you might think, oh, I won't get the detail, but small size, believe me, will be just what you want, and you won't have any problems with any of the EPUB readers saying your file's too big, there's too much graphics in it. Select small size and it will work fine. It looks really small, but Apple books are actually reproduce it very nicely. Of course, I usually export these to Apple Books. There are others, but Apple Books is probably your easiest. Now remember, as I said, to export to spreads, you set your document with facing pages right at the start. To export to spreads, set up your document with facing pages right at the start, but to export to single pages, set up your document with single pages right at the start, facing pages off and arranged vertically. And if you accidentally do it the other way around, you can go into Document Setup and change it. Now you can see I've got the 2 examples here. The top one, EPUB Spreads or Pages. You can see the top one set up in Spreads and the bottom one is set up in Pages. I find on a EPUB that single pages are the best, because you've got really no idea what kind of device your readers are going to be using, and a single page will create a very easily readable document. You can change it in Document Setup if you decide late one or the other. The spread one at the top or the single page one at the bottom. Much preferable. Now let's have a look at sending your book to Kindle. Firstly, you can simply share your EPUB file to your Kindle reader on your Mac or iPad. So if you've got a Kindle reader, if you've got Kindle on your iPad or your Mac, simply find your exported EPUB file, and you can see it there in the center column, little lost page EPUB, and you can see the document there. Right-click on it and send it to Kindle. After a while, it will appear in your Kindle library. So you can probably do this with other people. You can send the EPUB file and then they can load it onto their device and then send it to Kindle so it can be put on their own Kindle. And you can see the sequence on the right hand side there. When you click on send to Kindle, it says title required, author name, and add to your library. So you can share it around the family there quite easily. Now, publishing to Kindle, which is another thing altogether, publishing to Kindle requires you to export your EPUB to a PDF and open the PDF in Kindle Create. If you put Kindle Create on your Mac and then export your document to a PDF, open the PDF in Kindle Create, where you can make modifications to it and review it. Create it and then preview it. I mean, that's another story. I don't want to get into sending documents to Kindle Create, but it's really quite simple. Once you've modified your document in Kindle Create, Kindle creates its very own type of document. It's peculiar to Kindle. You can't use it anywhere else, but you can then upload it to the Kindle store. So it's worthwhile looking at that and going into it. Let's have a look at some of the things you must observe when writing children's books. This is fairly important to remember. Fully develop your main character. The best books have unique characters. They're quirky in some way. They have a funny habit. They look strange. They talk differently. In other words, they stand out. You don't want a character who looks or sounds just like everyone else, as in ordinary, unless that, of course, is your storyline. The little kangaroo who was ordinary. Do you want a character that feels really real? You could start with this popular list. What does your main character desire? What's their best and worst habits? And so on down the list. Now, word length. What's the right word length for a children's book? This is a question you must get right. There are accepted industry standards, and to go outside is to risk rejection. You need to figure out what age range you're writing for and then write within that word count. And there's book lengths and book types. 0 to 200, ages 0 to 3, a board book. 200 to 500 words, ages 2 to 5, early picture book. 500 to 800 words, ages 3 to 7, a picture book. 600 to 1,000 words, older picture book. 3,000 to 10,000, 5 to 10, a chapter book. And 10k to 30k, ages 7 to 12, a middle grade book. So let's see how we arrived here. Most writers writing picture books, you should aim for ages 3 to 7, the most common category. If that's you, then shoot for 750 words. That's the sweet spot. If you write a picture book of more than 1,000 words, forget it. You absolutely have to keep it under 1,000 words. It's the most unyielding rule in the entire industry. Slash away at your book until you've whittled it down. Important information about images. Always draw, if you can, in SVG images. They resize without fault, regardless of what size your book ends up. And remember that if you create images in SVG, they don't have gradients in them or anything fancy, or tones or marks like that. And if there's the slightest pixel in there, the whole image will end up as a pixel image, not an SVG image. Now, the tools you can do this with, of course, are Affinity Designer, Publisher and Photo, now just Affinity. Now, that's it for now on covering the introduction. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.